Now for this year's awards. The Everett C. Parker Award has been bestowed annually since 1987 to an individual or group whose work personifies the principles and values of the public interest in telecommunications. This year, we are pleased to honor Patti Miller, a former Vice President at Children Now and the current Vice President of Public Policy for Sesame Workshop, for her body of work on behalf of children and the media. While at Children Now, Ms. Miller was instrumental to the FCC's landmark ruling on children's television in the digital age, which ensured that children will continue to have access to educational television programming and that parents have information to help them identify educational shows. She also campaigned to protect children from the negative impact of media consolidation on the quality and quantity of children's programming. And most recently, she has been a key leader in the effort to curb junk food advertising to children, an important part of the broader campaign to stem the childhood obesity epidemic. As the countless individuals and organizations who have worked with Ms. Miller know, she brings unparalleled energy and commitment to her important work. Her former colleagues at Children Now say that in the face of formidable opposition, Patti has consistently achieved strategic wins for children through a wonderful combination of sharp analysis, creative thinking, sure stamina, and grace. Vicki Rideout of the Kaiser Family Foundation wrote to us with these emphatic words: "There is absolutely no one in this country who has done more than Patti Miller to keep the issue of children and media on the national agenda. From the halls of Congress to the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Trade Commission, from the PTA to the pediatricians to the boardrooms of major media companies, anyone who needs to know about kids and media has always turned to Patti Miller first." Please join me in saluting our 2009 Parker Award recipient, Patti Miller.
Thank you, Reverend Guffey, and thank you to the Office of Communication of the United Church of Christ, especially Cheryl and Ben, for this award today. I'm so very honored to receive the Everett C. Parker Award. I've long admired Dr. Parker's work for social justice and his steadfast commitment to advocacy, and it's also just such a pleasure to have the opportunity to meet him today, so I feel very honored to have that opportunity. This award is especially meaningful to me because I'm very passionate about media and the public interest, particularly when it comes to the needs of children. Everett C. Parker was a pioneering advocate. He laid the groundwork for all of us so our voices could be heard at the FCC on the very important issues of the day. For me, these important issues have been kids' issues, and I'm grateful to Dr. Parker for leading the way. I've actually heard a lot about Everett Parker over the years, and one of the things that I continually hear about him is how tenacious he was in his advocacy work. People say that he was constantly on the phone, constantly emailing, never stopping to advocate for what he believed in. And what's amazing to me is that Everett Parker started this work in the 1950s, and he's still going strong today. That's what I'd call tenacious. I saw this summer his op-ed in Broadcasting and Cable, celebrating the 75th birthday of the Federal Communications Commission. And he talked about the importance of advancing diversity and promoting inclusivity, especially as the FCC thinks about a new broadband plan for our nation. So I guess my takeaway from this article and from the lifetime work of Dr. Parker was that all of us, the FCC, other policymakers, advocates, the faith community, individual citizens, need to be tenacious in ensuring that the public interest remains paramount. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to improve media today. And I would argue that specifically when it comes to kids, There's a lot more work that needs to be done, especially if we think about creating a media environment that's truly worthy of our nation's children. I don't think I have to tell anybody in this room that media is an increasingly pervasive force in children's lives today. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, kids today from the ages of 18 are spending 6.5 hours with media a day. Now that's actually media that they're using recreationally, not actually in the classroom. They spend more time with media than they spend doing anything else except for sleeping. And when you look at kids ages 6 and under, they spend 2 hours a day playing video games, watching TV, on the computers. That's the same amount of time that they spend playing outside, and 3 times as much of the time they spend actually reading every day. So this is a pretty powerful influence. When I worked at Children Now, and we thought about the pervasive role in children's media and in children's lives, we framed our work in terms of 2 Ps, what we called the 2 Ps, provide and protect. In other words, we wanted to ensure that we provided children with the very, very best that media had to offer. And at the same time, we wanted to make sure we protected them from potential harm. When I came to Sesame Workshop, I learned about the 3rd P, which is potential. How do you use media to help children reach their highest potential? So as we move forward and we think about Dr. Parker's legacy, and we think about what we need to do to advance the interests of children in this multimedia digital world, I have 3 specific things that I think we should do, specifically focused on what we call these 3 Ps. Number 1, provide. Let's provide children with broadband access. As the FCC considers how to best develop a broadband plan, the educational needs of children have to be a top priority. The FCC should ensure that all children, regardless of race, ethnicity, geography, or income, have broadband access so they can truly benefit from engaging educational content online. 2, protect. Let's protect our children from unhealthy food advertising and marketing, which, as we know, is increasingly pervasive across digital media platforms. Our nation's children face a public health crisis, and that's a crisis of childhood obesity. This is the first generation of children whose life expectancy may be less than that of their parents because of childhood obesity. Well, we also know there are a confluence of factors that contribute to this crisis. Food marketing is one of them, and it's a significant one. So we need to think about a uniform nutrition standard for food marketing to children, and ensure that media companies work to reduce their unhealthy food advertising on their channels and networks. 3, potential. Let's use the tremendous potential of media to enhance children's education. Let's use it at home and in the classroom to support children's learning. We're facing an educational crisis in this country. Half of all kids, by the time they get to 4th grade, aren't reading at grade level. A staggering number of our nation's children are not graduating from high school. If America is to compete in the global economy, our children need a strong competitive education. Digital media can be a powerful partner. There's no question that the media environment we create for our kids today is going to have a lasting impact on their education and their health, and ultimately on our country's future. As Commissioner Kopp said last week when he addressed the forum sponsored by the Joint Center for Politics and Economic Studies, the quality of our media is integral to the success of our country. We are not measuring up to the challenges our country faces. So it's time to measure up to these challenges and be tenacious. Before I close, I want to thank my colleagues at Sesame Workshop, Children Now, and the Children's Media Policy Coalition for giving me a unique opportunity to work every day on the issues I care so deeply about. I would also especially like to thank Dr. Dale Kunkel at the University of Arizona. He couldn't be here today, but Dale has been a wonderful teacher and friend and mentor. I have learned so much from his expertise and just from his example. And thank you again to Dr. Parker for being tenacious and for leading the way for all of us. Thank you.